What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another stimulus update video. So there's a lot going on regarding stimulus. There's a lot going on regarding the previous $900 billion stimulus package, the current $1.9 trillion stimulus package, and the future relief bills that are currently being discussed. We know Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is not backing down from his fight to get up to $50,000 in student loan forgiveness. We know Senator Bernie Sanders is pushing harder than ever to provide a $15 minimum wage or higher. We also know multiple senators are asking why relief from the previous $900 billion stimulus package is still slowly being rolled out. And we have a large group of progressives that are still pushing for everything from a $2,000 per month stimulus check to extending child tax credits for the foreseeable future. So, I addressed a lot of this yesterday. Yesterday was kind of my big day discussing the $2,000 per month stimulus checks because that's when we started hearing a lot of rumors about this over the weekend, even into last week as well. But I really want to address this because a lot of people are asking, is $2,000 per month, is that legitimate? Are we going to see it? Is there any chance? Well, I addressed this yesterday. The push to get a $2,000 stimulus check per month is probably going to yield very little results. We probably will not see a $2,000 per month stimulus check. However, that does not mean we won't see a fourth stimulus check. The $2,000 per month stimulus check push is most likely just going to get many people on board with a fourth stimulus check, most likely anywhere between $600 to possibly $1,500, and it would go to the hardest hit individuals and families. So that's kind of what we know, but as I hear more regarding the fourth stimulus check, if there is going to be one, there might not even be one. But in my honest opinion, I would say there is going to be a fourth stimulus check because there are so many lawmakers pushing for this. And if President Biden wants this large group of 93 progressives in the House to vote on his side, then they're going to have to give them something. And this could mean higher minimum wage, which is going to be difficult to get pushed through the Senate because most likely we will go through another budget reconciliation through the Senate as well. So a minimum wage provision will most likely be pulled out of that. But we know the stimulus checks can be included with the Senate's rule. So because of that, we might be forced to go with the stimulus check as opposed to a minimum wage provision at this point. So that's kind of what we're hearing, and there's multiple reasons why. That's just one of the reasons why an additional stimulus check is most likely in the cards. What we know right now, though, is the Biden administration is going around the country this week celebrating their $1.9 trillion stimulus bill signing. This is called the Help Is Here tour, according to multiple reports, and the goal of this tour is at each stop to talk about the different pieces of legislation to fill in the American people and let them know what is in this bill. After this week stops, the American people should have a better idea of what is in this bill. But keep in mind that the Biden administration is going to call everything in this bill great for the American people, even though there are some provisions in this bill that do absolutely no good and would do nothing for the American people, or at least directly. But then we have Republicans, and they're going to fight back and say that that Democrats are only telling the American people about the good, but what about the bad? So just keep in mind, who is talking, because that is probably, from a Democrat's point of view, you're going to get the good. But from a Republican's point of view, they're going to tell you all about the bad. So just keep that in mind because, yes, this bill has some fat and some pork in the bill, and every single bill that we've ever had does. It doesn't matter if it's Republican or a Democratic priority. We have seen fat and pork in the bills. But just keep in mind that, yes, this $1.9 trillion stimulus package does have a lot of good for the American people. It has $300 per week for unemployment benefits from March 15th all the way to September 6th. It has $1,400 stimulus checks, not just for filers and their spouse, but for child dependents and adult dependents as well. We also know there's a child tax credit, which hasn't been really implemented yet, but it is coming, most likely starting in July, and that is for $3,000 per year for a child between 6 and 17, and $3,600 for children between 0 and 5. We also know there's earned income tax credits. We also know there's money for schools, state and local governments, and things like that. Nutrition assistance, rental assistance, and mortgage forbearance. So there's a lot in this bill. There's a lot of good stuff in this bill. I'm not going to go into really any more detail. I think you kind of understand what is in this bill. But if you have any questions in any particular thing, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Now, one of the things that many people are very upset with, and I get this, okay? I sympathize with this because I understand where you're coming from. Now, what is happening right now is a lot of people are worried that they are going to get their $1,400 stimulus checks. However, before they get their hands on it, it will be garnished from their accounts. Now, this can happen. It honestly can happen. This is what many people are talking about. However, I don't expect the Biden administration to come out and discuss a possible garnishment during their Help Is Here tour. I just don't see it happening, so I want to address it right now. The IRS has stated that they will not reduce your economic impact payment due to having a federal tax debt. So if you owe any back taxes, the IRS will not garnish your check. That is the good news. As for the state of Maryland, I addressed this yesterday as well. The state of Maryland passed a law stating that it makes it illegal for private debt collectors to take your economic impact payment. So that is good news there. As for other states, they are currently working to try to get some type of law passed to prevent this. However, we do know that Senator Ron Wyden from Oregon is working to fix this issue on a federal level as opposed to a state level. He wants to get this done, and the goal right now, according to many reports, is to have this done either today or tomorrow. So everyone is currently expecting it needs to get done by tomorrow because in most banks, the checks for the $1,400 will clear on Wednesday, March 17th. That is tomorrow. So just keep that in mind. But as of right now, many lawmakers are working on this, trying to figure out a way to stop this. And Senator Ron Wyden is the one that's kind of heading this battle. So we will see what happens as I get more updates, as we get a little bit more information. And if this bill does pass, I promise I will keep you updated on all of that stuff. Now, this leads us into the next bill. This leads us into President Biden's Build Back Better plan, or his infrastructure bill, which some are expecting to be anywhere between $2 to $3 trillion. Right now, according to many reports, lawmakers are currently working on this bill, trying to figure out the exact framework. Some do not even know exactly what is going to be in this bill. Some are currently estimating that there are still many, many weeks of work to be done. Nancy Pelosi did state that this is currently being worked on, and hopefully we will have text of this bill very soon. However, other lawmakers are saying that we are still working on the framework. However, we do know this has been in the works for over a month. So we will see what happens, but as of right now, we still have a long ways to go. And there has been no timeline given as to when we will see the text or when we will have more information. Nancy Pelosi also went on to state yesterday that, and I quote, "Building roads and bridges and water supply systems and the rest has always been bipartisan. Always been bipartisan, except when Republicans opposed it with the Democratic president, as they did with President Obama, and we had to shrink the package. But nonetheless, hopefully we will have bipartisanship." That is the goal, and that has always been the goal for President Biden, according to at least his statement, or multiple statements that he's made. However, actions speak louder than words. There was no attempt, or very little attempt, I don't want to say no attempt, there was very little attempt from the Democratic Party to get Republicans on board in the $1.9 trillion stimulus package. And that, to many people, is pretty much the biggest reason why we are going to see Republicans fight tooth and nail in this next bill, because they didn't get any say in the last bill. So we do know that even Senate Republican John Barrasso, he said yesterday he would really like to see bipartisanship on infrastructure. However, many people are not so optimistic. Some are currently saying that right now it's highly unlikely we see any type of bipartisanship agreement on the next bill, simply because Republicans do not want to overspend. Democrats want to come out of the gate hitting hard and getting everything that President Biden is asking for. And this is something that we do know is it's very easy to be a president and to implement your campaign promises if you have the House and the Senate passing every single thing that you want. However, it's not always like that. You're not going to get that every single time on every single bill. So right now, what we are hearing is that this is what President Biden wants. He's been fighting to get into the Oval Office for decades. So what they want to do is they want to try to do everything they can to provide him with whatever he needs. Now, what we do know is right now the only way to get a bipartisanship bill is by taking out a lot of President Biden's campaign promises. Now, we know some of the promises. He's already talked about student loan forgiveness. He's talked about immigration. He's talked about climate change. He's talked about Social Security. He's talked about all these things. However, which ones are the most important to him? Right now, Social Security, student loan forgiveness are not really up on that list. A lot of people are saying that no, we need to provide students with some additional relief. However, Republicans are fighting back, saying if we give students a $1.7 trillion waiver, we just wave a magic wand and their $1.7 trillion in debt just goes away, that's fine. The problem is these students or these former students do not have $1.7 trillion sitting in the bank that they can go and spend into the economy right now. So here's the good news. According to multiple reports, when it comes down to those two provisions, do we provide people on SSI, SSDI, railroad benefits, VA, right? Do we provide that group of people with an additional $200 per month for, let's say, the next year? Or do we go and do student loan forgiveness? Which one would provide a greater impact? Well, what we do know is that in the long run, over 10, maybe 15, 20 years, student loan forgiveness is going to do much better. That's going to provide a bigger impact to the economy. However, short term, and this is what Democrats are currently looking at, is short term economic impact. Could the student loan forgiveness outweigh the $200 per month for Social Security and SSI, SSDI, right? All those. Could it? And the answer is no. According to economists, and this is big, this is something that we need to kind of keep an eye on. According to multiple economists, it makes more sense to provide people on Social Security benefits and elderly, provide them additional $200 per month that they can go and spend on things like, they're not going to go and spend it on, just random things. They're most likely not going to save it. They're going to take that $200. They're going to put it into, maybe some of their bills. But chances are they're going to go buy medication. They're going to go buy food. They're just going to provide for themselves because this $200 is essential for their cost of living. So what we know there is people on Social Security are most likely going to take that $200 and spend it immediately. As opposed to people that are students or former students, they'll most likely take the money that they were initially going to make or pay for their student loans. Chances are they're going to either invest it or save it. That is what we know. So according to many reports, it makes more sense to put money into Social Security as opposed to getting rid of student loan debt. Now, that is big, okay? And I really wanted to touch on that because right now, what we are hearing is that we could get bipartisan support on the $200 per month in Social Security benefits, that boost. However, it's going to be highly unlikely to get the student loan forgiveness passed through with bipartisan support. What we do know right now is that either, Democrats and Republicans are going to have a tough time agreeing on whatever bill and whatever's in it, right? But what we know right now is that getting bipartisan support is the main goal for Democrats, is get this bipartisan support. And some are saying this is the main goal because Senator Joe Manchin has stated he will not support a bill that does not first go and try to get support from Republicans. If it doesn't, and then Democrats try to push a budget reconciliation bill, Joe Manchin will not vote for it. He would vote against it. And that means it would go 51 to 49 in favor of Republicans, which means this bill would be dead on arrival in the Senate. So, according to Senator Dick Durbin, he is saying that right now the biggest issue is the filibuster. That Democrats need to get rid of the filibuster, which is that 60-vote rule. And Senator Dick Durbin said yesterday, and I quote, "The filibuster is still making a mockery of American democracy. The filibuster is still being misused by some senators to block legislation urgently needed and supported by a strong majority of the American people." But like I already stated, we already know Senator Joe Manchin, who is a Democrat, who's a centrist Democrat, who's one of the biggest voices in the Senate. Right now, it's him and Elizabeth Warren are two of the biggest voices as of right now, according to multiple reports. But Joe Manchin holds a lot of weight, has a lot of power, and if he does not support getting rid of the filibuster, which he doesn't, then many say it's currently highly unlikely. And to make matters worse, here's something we do know. Joe Manchin, like I already stated, is wanting to see that Republicans and Democrats come together on this package. He does not want to see somebody come out ahead and have no input from the other party, which is essentially Democrats are going to come out ahead, Republicans are going to have no voice. He said, and I repeat, he said multiple times that he would not support a budget reconciliation on this bill. And he would not vote for this again. And because a budget reconciliation is the most likely outcome at this point, based on everything that we are hearing, many already expect a lot of the legislation to be pulled out due to the Senate's reconciliation rules. I already stated this earlier, in this video, that we know the $15 minimum wage can't pass through a budget reconciliation, so it would be almost pointless to put it in there. However, we do know the House will most likely include this because once it gets kicked over to the Senate, there is always that option that Democrats and Vice President Kamala Harris decide, you know what, we need to get this done. We are going to overrule the Senate parliamentarian, and we're just going to pass this anyway. Well, this also brings Joe Manchin back into play because he has already said multiple times he would not go against the Senate parliamentarian. The Senate parliamentarian has her job. It's her job to determine what should and should not be in a budget reconciliation based on the Senate's rules. And if she decides no, it doesn't abide by the rules, Senator Joe Manchin would simply side with her. So that creates another whole host of additional problems. So just expect that the proposals that we see talked about over the next few weeks, possibly even a few months, these are going to look a lot different once they actually make their way into the Senate, or actually make their way out of the Senate. Because we know, like we saw in the $1.9 trillion stimulus package, we could see things like a $15 minimum wage. We could see a $2,000 per month stimulus check. And that's great for the House. And then all it's going to do is it's going to get kicked over to the Senate. The Senate's going to debate it, probably have another vote-a-rama like they always do. Great, wonderful. A lot of different proposals, a lot of different bills, a lot of different amendments. And a lot of stuff that never even gets discussed. What we do know is that if this happens, and this is again political games, this is what we're going to be going back into very soon, is the House, being that they have a little bit more of the numbers, they're going to push some stuff into this bill, into this large $2 to $3 trillion infrastructure bill, that's most likely, they know it's going to get rejected as soon as it gets into the Senate. For example, a $2,000 per month stimulus check, what do you think is going to happen? Well, I can tell you what's going to happen based on the reports from a few senators right now. It's going to be pulled out. $2,000 would easily get pulled out simply because nobody would actually support this. And all this is going to do, just to give you a little heads up, this is just a way for Democrats to pass it in the House, send it over to the Senate, and then as soon as it gets rejected in the Senate, now Democrats are like, hey, we tried to pass $2,000 stimulus checks per month, but Republicans in the Senate voted against this, so you got to go talk to the Republicans because it's because of them you're not going to get it. But yet we know it's simply because this was never going to pass, even through the centrist Democrats anyway. So right now, again, it's going to be a lot of back and forth, and we're going to see more political games like we always do. So, in other news, in other exciting news, I guess. The United States reported 57,083 new COVID cases yesterday alone, so we are trending downward, and we only reported 751 deaths, which means we are starting to come down on the numbers. That is good. The numbers are beginning to drop to more sustainable levels, according to experts. And experts say, and they do warn, that spring break goers that are heading to, Florida, Las Vegas, to warmer areas, they could also cause another surge in cases in the coming weeks. So just be prepared for that. We also know Europe is facing a third wave of cases, and they could potentially be closing down again. We know that Moderna is beginning to vaccinate children as well in their phase 2 of 3 trials. They are also calling this the Kid Cove study. They are currently enrolling about 6,750 children in the United States and Canada, and all ages, and they're all going to be between ages 6 months and 11 years old. I can tell you right now, I would not submit my child to do any testing on some type of trial like this, but I guess other people might be a little less concerned. Now, you can let me know down in the comment section below if you have children. Would you ever allow them to do some type of study such as the one that they are currently going through? We also don't know that Moderna has begun a study on teens between 12 and 18 years old back in December, and they're currently working through that. Yes, I do know 12-year-olds are not teenagers. However, that's currently what the reports say. And Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson also do have plans to begin their trials as well on children and teens. That will be coming up very soon. But as of right now, that is currently what we know. That's currently what's going on today in the world, today in the United States, and regarding stimulus. If you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing so I can continue to keep you updated on everything that's going on, and I'll see you guys on the next one.